Next up, 2014 year-end financial report.
Good evening. So we've gone over the financial reports for 2014, and we've met with the Finance Committee to review them. And I prepared the reports for the council, as well as a cover sheet that shows some of my commentary on where the city was strong and some of the funds that had a higher than, say, 5% change. And I also included the cash flow report, which is an annual thing we do, actually quarterly. And obviously I pointed out, we increased our cash position by $1,044,554. Don't expect that every year. And 2 years in a row we've done pretty good. We're almost up $2 million, but we're going to start spending some of those funds on the capital projects. And so it should come down a little bit this year. I'm hoping not too much, but we have rebuilt the reserves in the general fund. So let's get it climbing up to close to $2 million. So something to think about is maybe moving some of that into reserve funds where you can't touch it on the council system. I mean, it seems semantics, but it's not. It makes it so you have a safeguard, and a lot of cities like to get the exact same amount in both of those funds.
What are the, I cannot remember exactly, we had at one point we thought there were statutory restrictions on just how much of a reserve fund we could set up.
Well,
or that was for the restricted reserve, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the general fund, we have our reserve fund set up, and we have the policies. I believe it's 10%. But as this goes up higher, it gets harder to do that because even though I'm getting better interest on our investments, it's not meeting that. So that's why I think we're going to need to transfer some in 2015 to at least keep pace with that. If not, and I know the mayor wants to increase it to a higher rate. We could look at doing that in our policy, in the code, or we could just, do it as it works out. That's something we can talk about at Finance Committee as well, I think.
Josh, you might remember this, probably 4 or 5 years ago, there was a percentage that we wanted to transfer directly into that restricted reserve account.
Yes.
And we stopped doing it because of kind of hard times.
Well, hard times and other conflicts.
So are we currently transferring money into that restricted account? I remember seeing it last year.
No, just a small amount for investment interest.
And that was adopted by ordinance, right? That said we had to.
We established the account by ordinance, but the annual transfer into that account is by the budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about that for next year's budget and start. We can even do it this year. We can always do a budget amendment to move some of that 1.6 million over there. Because right now it's just sitting at 135,000. So.
Which is not.
And I also talked to the Finance Committee about some of the funds that aren't having much activity, like the Fire Capital Improvement Fund. I believe Councilmember Cave talked about that being used for updating some of the fire hydrants. Right now it sits with about $69,000. It's made up of impact fees mostly. And then also we talked about what was the other fund we talked about before? 403 fund garbage. And that has almost $275,000. It will hit probably $300,000 this year, or close to it. And that has been discussed about using if the council wants to go out for anything, and related to garbage, or you're using it for cleanup. So we're going to do some research into that to see what the restrictions are and how we use that. I don't believe there are going to be many other than use it for something garbage related, because it was the use of the billing plan.
How much was in that?
$275,000.
Okay. Now, we could take into account all of those heavy trucks and everything else running on our roads and running off on the shoulder of the road to pick up the garbage and stuff, breaking the edges off and whatever. So I think we could justify using some of that money for road repair.
And council can make a transfer from that fund to the streets fund. I'm almost sure, but I'll check to verify that.
That was my justification of it, because those trucks are heavy.
And I'll point out the sewer fund. It's sitting at 112,000, 113,000 coming into this year. And the sewer cumulative fund is at 522, but that'll get used up mighty quick. So we want it to at least increase a little bit more before, and we've already started some projects that are taking it down. It went down only 10,000 last year, but it's going to go down some more this year for the projects related to Valentine and Stewart. We're actually doing some work on the sewers as they need it. And since they're in the ground anyway, they're going in to look at that. And I've been talking with Jim Morgan about this. We're going to need to, we're putting together a plan to show the costs we're going to need. And then we can talk about how rates are impacted. You know, what's in that $20 and how are we going to fund the infrastructure down the road. Part of the, the plan we talked about that needs to be discussed more fully in the council retreat that we're going to be talking about shortly. With any questions though about the report or anything on this that council has?
Do you just to adopt this today?
Right, this is a motion, that's all.
Council's pleasure. Next up, AWC Drug and Alcohol Consortium. Are you going to use this as infrastructure movement here?
I think it's just membership dues.
That's all it is.
That's all it is, it's just dues to the consortium that belongs to the.
Moving forward.
And for it.
Thank you, thinking about that stuff. Okay, Sound Cities Association, Mayor.
So, I had mentioned that there were a couple things, and if they were in your packet, they're going to be brought up a week from Wednesday at the next meeting. And a couple of things, and basically, I wanted council's input on my vote, as, if council wants me to vote on this or abstain, or a vote no. One of the items that they're looking at is King County wants to bond against the future Hotel-Motel revenue for affordable housing. That's exactly what Mayor Hill's like, why would we do that? So,
They're hedging.
Exactly.
And they're taking money that they don't have.
And they're saying it would be limited to 50% of the anticipated revenues, which would be about $7 million a year. So they're looking for places to find it. So, but before I took, place the city-specific vote, I wanted to bring it to council for comments and thoughts. So
they're just stealing money from Peter to pay Paul, on
kind of crazy.
projected revenue.
Unprojected revenue is exactly right. There's a whole lot of other things that came up regarding the tourism. The one thing about it, it will not affect the money that comes to the city. It does not affect us at all, the money that we already get from tourism funds. This money that they're looking at, their portion of what they're bonding against. So I will tell you this, based on the conversations that took place at FCA at the last meeting, the majority vote is going to be going forward, moving forward, approving it forward. And basically, it's not approving, it's just backing, saying that we support it, but it's still King County what they'll be doing. It's the Sound Cities Association as a collective vote.
So it's like more of an advisory.
Correct.
Anything that they want to do.
Correct. So kind of a heads
So
up.
they're really the FDA, cities are going to, King County's going to do what they're going to do. Anyway.
Right, but the majority of the cities supports it. There's probably about 4 cities that openly spoke against it. And, Mayor Hill from Algona being a tax guy is like, why would you do this? You're spending money you don't have,
Well, it's not even them, they're taking it from somebody else.
Right, and, so. But that was one of the things. So when it comes up, I can voice council's opinion if there's other opinions.
I just had a question. So what I understood is in 2021, the stadiums are paid off, and now this tax, which is
The kingdom.
the kingdom. It's already torn down.
How's the concrete this?
It's already torn down. So that money, they're trying to call dibs
Totally
on
sorry,
that
you still gotta pay
money.
it off.
Right, exactly.
But King County might just say, no, we're gonna do this, and they've already built the houses and
So
apartments.
they want to bond against money that's going to be coming available from 21 to 45, years 2045.
Can they claim it?
We'll be dead by the revenue.
No, it's only 6 years away.
The Hotel-Motel is still going to be collected, that tax money is still
Right,
going
but
to be
King County doesn't have to give it to,
A portion of
project.
it in 21. Right. And the portion of it from the state goes to King County. The portion comes to the city of Pacific.
It's their own money,
Right.
yeah.
just they're bonding against the sales stuff.
Right.
So council, the ask is the council review this and bring their concerns.
If you have any questions, any further questions that you want me to find out, I can contact staff and get any further questions answered by next Monday. But what I'm hoping is by next Monday, thumbs up, thumbs down moving forward, so when I attend the meeting on Wednesday. The other item is the Committee to End Homelessness. Basically, this is their strategic plan. It's very intensive. I don't know if you had a chance to go through and read it all. But the strategic plan basically highlights 3 goals. And one is to make homelessness rare, to make homelessness free and one-time, and to build a community to end homelessness. Now, they have had a strategic plan in place. It's been in place for years, and they're looking for measurable ways, and that's why when you go through and you look at all the different attachments that came with it, probably what made the packet too big. Is all the information in the strategic plans and the funding that has gone into this prior to. So the first 2 goals, to make homeless and rare, brief and at one time, are consistent with the Federal Housing and Urban Development Department HUD. Requirements and progress toward these goals is required by the HUD to maximize HUD funding. The 3rd goal recognizes that goals will only be met by a wide variety of stakeholders working together to achieve this success. So basically, what Sound Cities Association is looking for is buy-off from all the cities to work towards the strategic plan, to be looking at what they can do as their own cities. If you go through and look at the different strategic plans, it's like meeting with your own local officials, your own, your local police, your local human services people, and finding out, what kind of the issues are in your city and what you can do to help meet those numbers, or what you can do to help meet that strategic plan.
Let's just draw more money away from us, so we end up going out there homeless too.
Well, it's not a cost, it's more, well, it is a cost for staff, for our staff, to look at it, but I think there's also, value in awareness in your own city as well.
Questions from council?
Stay on number.
City newsletter.
All right. So the city